Speech off.
Hello there. Hearty welcome to Prasanna Kumar Pincha YouTube channel. Friends, for the last quite some time, there has been very interesting and animated discussion on the terminology which is being used in the context of persons with disabilities. And of late, this discussion has picked up some momentum in the wake of the concluding observations of the Committee on Rights of Persons with Disabilities, wherein they have expressed concern, among other things, over the terminology in the context of persons with disabilities, which is used here in India. And they expressed this concern while deliberating upon the initial country report of India on the implementation of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. As I had mentioned earlier on in one of my earlier videos, that the CRPD, that is the Committee on Rights of Persons with Disabilities, did enlist certain very positive aspects of what all has happened or has been happening here in our country, in India. But at the same time, it has also listed out certain areas of concern for the government of India and the civil society of India to look at and to set them right. Now, although in one of my earlier videos, particularly in a video captioned CRPD Part 2, and also to some extent in the video captioned CRPD Part 1, I had dealt with this concern of terminology, I thought that a dedicated video was required, and hence I am recording this video for you. I remember, friends, during my childhood when I was in my hometown, small township in Rajasthan, some many people would obviously visit us, and also in other places, some people would refer or label me as Surdas, though with the best of intentions. Now, Surdas actually was a poet who lived some 400-500 years back, and incidentally, he too happened to be blind. But just because he happened to be blind, he was a highly talented poet, but to kind of attach this Surdas's identity to each and every blind person didn't resonate with me even when I was a child. And I remember I used to feel very awkward. And as a child, I used to feel, well, I want to be known in my own right. Why should I live on borrowed identity? Now, I do understand that the intention of people were good. They used to probably think that, or they, even now also in many places, blind persons are labeled as Surdas. So probably their intention is to show that they are very decent, that they are very nice, and it is nice to be nice. It is very decent to be decent. One should be decent, but that's not the way. Because, in fact, you should encourage a person to establish his own identity and to live on his own identity rather than to live on borrowed identity. Likewise, there is another term which is used in Hindi, and it is pragya chakshu, means the eye of wisdom. What is sought to be conveyed is that though you are blind, you have the eye of wisdom. Now, my point is that not many sighted people are very wise, and there are some blind people, they may not necessarily be so wise all the time. So I think this expression is also misplaced, though the intention, again, I repeat and I reiterate, the intention is pretty good. Now, there is another term which I think we have borrowed from the West, and sometimes we do not borrow good things Sometimes we do, sometimes we do not. And that term which we have borrowed from the West is quote unquote differently abled. Now, I have very serious issues with this expression. First of all, can you show me any two living entities under the sun which are either differently abled or which are either uniformly abled or uniformly disabled in all respects? Certainly not. There are no, each entity under the sun is unique in itself. Each individual under the sun is unique in herself or himself. And therefore, but what are you doing? You means those who refer to us as persons with disabilities, those who refer to persons with disabilities as differently abled. What are they doing? They are actually singling us out, singling me out as a person with disability and leveling me as differently abled. My argument is that if I am differently abled in relation to you, my dear friend, you are also differently abled or differently disabled in relation to me. You may be a person without disability. That doesn't matter. Because the point I'm trying to hammer home to you is that this is all relative, differently. Then again, when you describe me as a person, as a differently abled person, you are harping more on the differentiality dimension, whereas you should have been harping more on the equality dimension. That is what our constitution says. That is what our laws say. That is what the UNCRPD say. But you are doing quite the opposite, and you are in a way, in my opinion, violating the letter, the spirit, and in fact the letter and spirit of the national and international legislative framework. So then there is another, and then so some people ask me, so sir, and then I also feel that these expressions are very patronizing and condescending. Or, you use it just to show that you are very civil, very decent. You know that you as persons with disabilities are in a grossly disadvantageous condition, and but you are helpless. But we are so nice that we are trying to cover it up. We do not keep reminding you of your helplessness, and that's how we use this. But actually, this is not a fact. In my opinion, actually, this is not how it should be. In my opinion, a fact should be stated as a fact, though with utmost decency. And it can be done. For example, in Hindi, you have this word, drishti badhit, for the blind. In English, the word blind is absolutely fine. There is nothing wrong with the word blind. What is wrong? There is nothing wrong with the word visual impairment. What is wrong with this? Now, there is another word, and it is very so condescending, very patronizing. Now, there is another expression, which is quote unquote spatially abled. Now, what the hell you mean by spatially abled or non-spatially abled? I mean, are you implying or trying to hint at the degree of ability? Every individual has his skills and abilities in different genres, in different directions, in different areas, in different spheres. Someone is more good. Someone is very good at mathematics. Someone is better at science. Someone is very good in sports. Someone excels in acting. So, why do you single out persons with disabilities to level them as spatially abled? I think, and let me highlight another interesting dimension. You see, labeling a group of people does not really change facts. Say, for example, it doesn't alter facts. If you label me as a blind person, if you label me as Pragya Chakshu or Surdas, that doesn't alter the fact of my blindness. So why not be straight with things? And I know that many persons with disabilities also say that we don't have any issues with expressions. This is because, in my opinion, they are not very well informed. Words do have an impact on us. They do tell us, they inform us about the mindset, about the entrenched prejudices, and about such other things. Now, let's also take a look at the word handicapped. Now, it's a very it's a word which must not be used. The etymologically speaking, how this word actually originated. In medieval Europe, beggars used to beg with a cap in their hand. So this word got coined, handicapped. And over a period of time, this word got associated with persons with disabilities, because during those days, persons with disabilities were considered as very helpless. Even now also in some areas, in some quarters, they are considered like this. And persons with disabilities were considered helpless. They were considered, and it was, in some quarters, it was thought that if anything they could do was singing and begging. So, this explains why when I was a chief commissioner, and even when I was not, and even when I was, I did raise, and this is a matter of record, I raised issues around this terminology, which is why the name of the department in the central government has been changed. And the name of various premier national level institutions and organizations, or organizations catering to different categories of disabilities have also been appropriately changed. So I think we need to try and see that the use of such words or such expressions are not encouraged. Now, someone asked me, sir, okay, you are saying this, so how should we describe you? What should I say? And I said, look, you can always describe me as a blind gentleman, wherever necessary and relevant. Now, these are two operative words, necessary and relevant. Wherever necessary and relevant, you can describe me as a blind gentleman. There is nothing wrong in describing a blind person as a blind person, as long as there is nothing wrong in describing a tall person as a tall person, a fair-complexioned person as a fair-complexioned person, a dark-complexioned person as a dark-complexioned person. After all, internationally, the UNCRPD recognizes persons with disabilities as a part of human diversity and humanity, and therefore there is nothing wrong in describing me as a person with a disability, as a blind gentleman. There is absolutely nothing wrong about it. What is the problem about it? So I think I felt that this discussion is important, and I do not subscribe to the view that words do not make any difference. Words do make a difference, because they send out a certain message, a certain feeling. They are reflective of a certain mindset maybe, and therefore words do matter, and we should be very careful. My concluding remarks would be, yes, we should use words which convey the fact, but convey the fact with utmost decency and decorum. But you don't need to sugarcoat things. We have the guts to accept fact as a fact. We means, when I'm saying we, I'm referring to persons with disabilities. And therefore, you use the words that convey a fact as a fact, but with decency, with decorum, with civility. But that doesn't mean that you have to, change. You have to depart from a fact and invent something like, for example, that I forgot, this expression Divyang, which was actually to to which the UNCRPD also, to which the Committee on Rights of Persons with Disabilities, CRPD, took exception to the use of which. Now, what does the word Divyang means? It's a Hindi word. Divya means divine, Ang means limb or organ. So you are saying a person with a disability is a person with divine organs or divine limbs. And the explanation, and some people say that it means persons with extraordinary abilities. Now my point is, and one gentleman even went to the extent of saying that it means you are sashakt, you are empowered. It doesn't mean, actually, if that were so, then why create a department of empowerment of persons with disabilities? So I have all throughout been saying that when you use the word nishakt in Hindi, nishakt of course also means disempowered. But it somewhere also kind of perhaps sends out a message as if you are a sickly person. So anyway, you say that somebody said that from nishakt to sashakt. So it's like, I would say it's analogous to lifting persons with disabilities from an attributed state of subhumanity to an attributed state of superhumanity. Both are wrong. Persons with disabilities are as human as anyone else. They have same feelings, same and similar feelings. I mean, they are people with feelings, sentiments, emotions, reasoning, whatever, like all other human beings. Friends, I think enough for this discussion today. And do send in your suggestions, your feedback, either on WhatsApp if you have my WhatsApp number, and also email to me, and maybe you can also write in the comment box. The gentleman who looks after the technical aspect of this channel, of course, takes a look. I mean, I do not very regularly take a look at the comments, but I think that gentleman does look at it. So if you have liked this video, please do subscribe to this channel and give me your feedback. I was also thinking that maybe at some point, if I feel inclined and if you also feel that I should do that, I can also start about talking about or talking on topics of general interest in addition to talking about issues associated with persons with disabilities. Of course, primarily right now, and this is a channel where I've been talking about issues associated with persons with disabilities. But if you feel inclined, you may give feedback, and I am open to talking about other issues as well, if I feel inclined. So bear with me and have a great time ahead.
Speech on. Stop button.